Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel for another video, or welcome if you're new here. It's a typical Wednesday for us. We are midweek, midway through the week, and are basically in the thick of homeschooling these days. This time of year just feels non-stop for us with school and sports and activities and all the things. So today is a day where we work in the morning, get all of our homeschooling done in the morning, and then the afternoon we have music lessons and church activities. My 7th grader just began a new science curriculum literally 2 days ago, and today is the day we have our first experiment. So I thought it would be fun to show you a little peek at this curriculum and what we're doing and take you with us as we do our lesson today. So my son Luke last week finished up physical science with Science Shepherd. He completed the entire curriculum. I have a video review I did on that if you want to go check it out and see what those courses are like. He really liked it, I liked it, and he ended up doing it very independently because it was an online course with short video lessons and then a workbook component. And although I liked it, my daughters are using a Berean Builders curriculum now, and I really like that as well. So I wanted to change things up a bit and try out their curriculum with my son. It's going to be very different than any other science curriculum we have used, to be honest. Much more hands-on, no online component, and a little bit more rigorous, which I think is going to be a good thing. So we'll see how it goes. Like I said, we are just getting started with this. We are using Science in the Atomic Age, which is their recommended course for 7th grade. And I'm planning on doing a full flip through video soon and sharing even more about this curriculum once I get a little bit deeper into it. But for today, I'm just going to show you what one of the lessons looks like. Berean Builders is a Christian worldview based curriculum. They offer courses from elementary through high school, and they like to integrate history along with the science, which I think is really cool. Dr. J. Weil, who wrote this curriculum, has based it off of Acts 17:11, where it talks about the Bereans receiving the gospel with eagerness and examining the scriptures daily for truth. So that's the philosophy here. They want to help our kids be critical thinkers, to seek truth throughout their lives, and build a strong foundation of knowledge through their studies. All right, so before we get started, real quick, I'm just going to show you all the different components we'll be using. This is the textbook, Science in the Atomic Age. And then I also have a couple of other things here. This is a student workbook that I purchased from christianbook.com. It's basically just a place where they can record their answers to their questions. And in the back, there are some blank pages for lab notes. My son has a notebook where he's keeping some notes in, important things to remember, vocab, things like that. And then this right here is what is their daily lesson plan book. So I record the lessons I want them to do each day in Homeschool Planet, but then my son will pull this out to actually show him specifics on what to do. So like I might put chapter 1, day 1, chapter 1, day 2 in Homeschool Planet, but when he opens this up, it gives him even more detail on what to do. So today we are on day 3, and this is what we're going to be doing. So what you're gonna see, if you're familiar with Berean Builders at all, the format is gonna look really similar, really familiar to you. There's going to be a part that we read, and then whenever you get to a blue box like this, this is an experiment. So we'll do the experiment. These are the supplies that we're going to use. I actually purchased the box of supplies again from christianbook.com. So this has everything that you need for your experiments in this curriculum. So I'm going to go through here and take a look at their list right here, and it breaks it down by chapter and what bag the supplies are going to be in. So I'm going to go through and find the supplies that we need for this experiment. And so that's really handy. I will say this was back ordered quite a long time. I don't know if that is typical, but I love that they have these boxes of supplies. Just everything is all there for you. You don't have to spend time prepping or gathering materials when you come to an experiment, because if you're like me, you would probably forget, and it makes it, just even easier to get these experiments done. So after the experiment, there's just a little bit more reading, and then there's a short comprehension check question. When your kids get to the comprehension checks, they are done with the lessons. And again, you can just do these in a regular notebook if you want to, or you can purchase a student workbook to go along with that. But there is absolutely nothing wrong with just using a notebook to write these down in, or to even speak them out loud, just to show that they understand what's going on in that section. All right, so that is what we're going to be doing today for our lesson. How science can relate to concepts that aren't part of the natural world. While science can only be used to study the natural world, sometimes the conclusions of science can relate to other areas of life that science cannot study directly. For example, I told you earlier that science can't be used to determine that stealing someone else's property is wrong. However, you could do a scientific study of people who habitually steal things. If you find out that those people are more likely to be depressed than people who don't steal things, the results of the study could give you some evidence that stealing things is bad for you. Nevertheless, it wouldn't tell you that stealing is wrong. It would just tell you that people who steal things a lot are more likely to be depressed than people who don't steal things. Whether or not that is wrong is something science cannot determine. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So it's not talking about morality. It can just show you the physical, natural stuff. Okay, you want to do the next paragraph?
Sure. In the same way, science can't directly study God because he is not part of the natural world. However, it can give you some powerful evidence that he exists. For example, when I started learning science, I was an atheist.
Yep.
That means I didn't believe in any kind of God. However, more I studied science, the more I became impressed with the design that I saw in the nature. Consider the jet engine picture on the left. There's no way that the engine could make a jet fly unless it was designed by talented people and then put together based on the design that had been made. When I study the natural world, I see structures that make that jet turbine engine look crude and primitive. Since it is obvious that the engine must have a designer, it became even more obvious to me that the world must have a designer as well. In other words, what I learned through science caused me to believe in God.
Very cool. So even though science cannot study God directly, studying the natural world can allow you to draw some conclusions about him. They aren't really scientific conclusions, but science can at least help you recognize him. The Bible confirms this, of course. Psalm 19:1 says, "The heavens are telling of the glory of God, and their expanse is declaring the work of his hands." When we study the natural world, we are studying the works of his hands, and that will tell us about his glory.
Sometimes science can even relate to you how you interpret the Bible. Remember the magnetic field theory developed by Russell Humphreys? Well, that theory indicates that the Earth's magnetic field can only last for thousands of years. So if his theory is correct, the Earth can only be thousands of years old, not billions of years old. As most scientists believe, this relates to the Bible because the first chapter of the book of Genesis says that the entire universe was made in 6 days. If those 6 days were roughly as long as the days we experience today, that means the Earth and the universe are only thousands of years old. Now, of course, there are other ways to interpret the word day, as used in the book of Genesis, which is why not all Christians believe that the Earth is thousands of years old. However, Humphrey's theory provided some evidence for the idea that thousands of days were roughly the same length as a day.
For the idea that those days
were roughly the same length as the days we experience today.
Interesting. So, real quick before we move on, can you kind of like summarize what that paragraph said about
the magnetic field cannot be billions of years old because it only lasts for thousands of years, and then that proves that the Earth is not billions of years old.
Do we want to use the word proves? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, it supports that. It lines up with what the Bible says, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, what was it? So, remember what we read yesterday? Science cannot prove anything. So, we kind of talked about that a little bit. I would agree that it's pretty darn good evidence, but yeah, good job. Okay, so science can be related to things other than the natural world, but remember, you have to be careful. Scientific theories and scientific laws can be wrong, so you should not rely on them to form your beliefs about important things like life, love, morality, and God. However, they might be able to help guide you in the right direction. All right, doing experiments. So since this is the first experiment we're doing, it's going to kind of walk us through the procedures for how we're going to do it. And it's probably going to lay it out a little bit more than it will every single time, but the structure should be the same. So I'll go ahead and read this part. If you're using a scientific hypothesis or theory to make predictions, you will have to test those predictions to see if they are true. While you can sometimes test your predictions by just making more observations of the world around you, a scientist generally tests hypotheses or theories by doing experiments. You will be doing a lot of experiments in this course, so I want to take you through an experiment detailing how you should approach the experiments you will be doing. The first thing you need to realize is that you're not doing experiments to confirm the predictions of a hypothesis or theory. Instead, you're doing them because I think you can learn something valuable by doing them. Thus, you will not be making hypotheses and testing hypotheses in this science course. It's interesting. If you become a scientist, you will be doing those things. For now, you're doing experiments so that you can learn things, okay? As a result, your main goals for an experiment are to follow the directions, make notes that will allow you to remember what you did in the experiment, and write about the experiment so that you will understand what I want you to learn. Below, you will find instructions for your first experiment. Collect the supplies that are listed and follow the directions. Some of the directions are in italics. Don't worry about that right now. You will learn what the italics mean later. Just follow those directions like you would follow all the other directions. And something that I had read in the parent guide basically said, like, if I were to pick up your science notebook and read through the experiment, I should be able to tell exactly what you did in the experiment, even if I wasn't there with you. Like, if you're doing it on your own, you want to take your notes and write about it in a way that someone else could read it and understand what your results were and what you were doing. Okay, so we've got our supplies set up already. You kind of helped me do that. We have our plain M&M candies from our box. We've got water and vegetable oil. These glasses might be a little bit big, but we got them about halfway filled with water and vegetable oil. And then we have a fork. And I think that's it. A notebook where you can keep record, and then a pen or pencil. So we will open up to the back of this and go to the first page that's blank, and we'll kind of use this for your lab notes, okay? All right, so it says open the notebook and label the first page, experiment 1.1, getting the M's off M&Ms. Okay, so it says, hold on, before you do that, so put at least 6 candies in each glass. You can put more if you want, but you don't want them stacked on top of each other. Okay, so then it says after we do that, we're gonna use a fork to arrange the candies so they form a single layer at the bottom of the glass. And the M's on the candies are all facing up so you can read them, okay? And then it says we're gonna watch both glasses for about a minute.
So what about the ones that are partial?
It's okay. Are the M's still on them? Yellow's
Most of
kind
them.
of hard to see, but it should still work.
That should be good.
Okay. What about those ones? There's just like partially on. You can put more than 6.
I know, but
Here, get one more for this side though.
most of these. Oh wait, yeah. Most of these don't. They don't have any M's on them over there.
Okay, that's weird. All right. Guess we're probably gonna find out why. All right, so go ahead and put them in, and I don't know how hard it'll be to put them with the M's facing it. They'll just use the fork. Try to do it quick. Well, do them all at once, and then you can use the fork to do it, because then we want to observe it for about a minute. Yeah, it's gonna get hard to see in that water once it gets colored. Okay, is that good? Here, you can put it on here. Okay, and then do the vegetable oil.
Exactly. There we go. It's easier. It's easy in vegetable oil, apparently.
It's easier to flip them?
Apparently.
Are they all flipped?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're just gonna watch them for about a minute. Ooh. That is easier to see. Oh, what are you already noticing?
I think the color's being removed, like I said.
All right, so on your sheet of paper, it says underneath the word data, write the following in your notebook. So it's gonna tell you exactly what to write. So it says, write, after the candies were arranged in the water. So again, this is gonna kind of tell you word for word because it's showing you how to do it. After the candies were arranged in water, but it's not gonna tell you all this every single time, I don't think. This is, again, just giving you a good idea. So after the candies were arranged in the water, and then describe, no, don't write describe, just listen. So describe what you see in the glass that contains the water and the candies. So just the water glass. So it wants you to describe what you see, and it says, have the candies changed at all? And has the water changed at all?
Yes.
So write down what you see and how the water has changed and how the candies have changed. Okay.
This one, nothing even happened to this.
So then underneath what you just wrote, so that was good. So underneath that, it says you're gonna write, after the candies were arranged in the oil.
This is why the pencil and our pen.
I know, are you glad we grabbed that pencil? And then what do you think you're gonna write? You're gonna write, describe what you see. Have the candies changed at all? Has the oil changed at all? Okay, nothing happened. Okay, so now it says, let the experiment sit for 15 minutes.
Jeez.
It also says, to be most efficient, do some other schoolwork during those 15 minutes. Don't just waste them. Why don't you go get your Latin homework? We'll do our Latin homework. Oh, wait, you have...
It's done.
It's done? Is everything else done? What are you going to do for 15 minutes? All right, we'll be back. Okay, so we didn't waste time at all, did we?
No.
All right, so what do you notice?
The M is coming
look.
up on the water.
Okay, so that is pretty cool. So next up it says that after 15 minutes, examine the glasses again. Did that. Underneath what you've written so far, write the following in your notebook. After the candies have been in the water for about 15 minutes, and then describe what you see.
What if I just do like an arrow 15 minutes? Right?
No, write it all out, and make sure use your handwriting too, because remember this, you want people to be able to read it and understand what's going on.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
Can I pick it up?
Try.
It says how to pick it up.
Yeah, it says try to pick up some of. Okay, we can pick it up and then we'll finish writing. So the best way to do that is put your finger under what's floating and then lift your finger up so that it sticks to your finger.
Is that in the corner right there? Or is it just like...
Yeah, it is. Try to do that one. So stick your finger underneath it.
Sorry, so much. Oh, I got it.
That's pretty cool. I'm gonna go for the other one.
I killed it.
Yeah, it's all kind of just floating in there, isn't it? Yeah, so,
Yeah, I lost it.
yeah, here you can use this. Yeah, so after the candies have been in the water for about 15 minutes, that's pretty cool though. I didn't know you could just lift off the M like that. I'm sure it's gonna tell us why, but let's record first. So after they've been in the water for about 15 minutes, it says to record what you see, be very specific. It says you should see some things floating on the surface of the water. What do these things look like? How does this compare to what you wrote after they had been in the water for just 1 minute? So what'd you put?
The M came off and the white stuff started going around it. Like white stuff started like dispersing.
Yeah. So how did that compare to what you wrote after they'd been in the water for just 1 minute? So what was different?
The candies lost color, well most color, and then their M's and the water turned orange. The candies lost.
So the new thing was that the M floated off of it, right?
I guess it kind of just blended in with the white then.
After the candies have B.
Okay.
15 minutes, the M. Okay, good. Yeah, so again, be as specific as possible just so other people could, so like if dad comes home and he wants to know what you do today and you showed him the experiment, he should be able to read this and understand exactly what we did. And then it says, underneath what you've written so far, write the following. After the candies have been in the oil, you already got it, for about 15 minutes, and then describe what you see. And it says, most importantly, describe the differences that you see between this glass and what you saw in the other glass. Okay.
Maybe you'll just lose the M eventually.
So, okay, let's read this next part. So it says, tomorrow I will talk about why I had you do the experiment and the rest of what you need to do to properly record your experiment. For right now, I just want to explain the results to you. When you put the M&Ms in water, the candy coating began to dissolve in the water. That's why colors started to spread out into the water from the candy. However, M&Ms are also covered with a layer of edible paper. And the M that you see on each candy is on that paper.
That's what white stuff is then?
Mm-hmm. It says, well, the paper doesn't dissolve in water. So as the candy coating dissolved, the paper did not. Eventually, it had nothing to cling to anymore, so it detached from the candy and floated to the top of the water. As a result, you saw little bits of paper floating at the top of the water. You actually eat that paper when you eat an M&M candy. You don't taste it because it's very thin, but you do eat it. It's possible that the M actually stayed together as the paper left the candy, so you might have seen little M's floating on the water.
Not all though.
But what happened with the vegetable oil? Nothing. That's because the candy coating can't dissolve in vegetable oil. As a result, nothing changed. No colors spread out from the candy and no paper floated to the top. That actually points to a very important difference between oil and water. You will learn about that later on in this course. All right, so it looks like more will be talked about the lab notebook tomorrow. This is just kind of an intro to how you're supposed to record your experiments. And now we're at the comprehension check. So let's go over these questions and then we will be done for the day. It should be at the front of it. Yeah, it should be at the very front. Yep, good. Okay, so, and they got the picture in there. It's not as clear, but so the picture says, look at the two pictures on the left. One of them shows a rock that has been shaped naturally by weather and wind. The other shows a rock that has been shaped by an artist who is following a design. Which is which, and what made you choose the way you did?
Well, the A has to be the natural one, and B has to be the artist one. That'd be kind of crazy if that was.
So what made you choose that?
Because it's all in a rocky environment, and it just doesn't look like an artist would have made it. And then this one's all smooth and. Yeah.
Does this one look like it could have just happened by accident? Like nature could have just, you know, after enough time, it could have just formed that? No. So go ahead and write down your response to that. And at the back of every chapter, they actually have answers to the comprehension check questions. So they're actually in the book. They encourage the kids not to look at them, but those answers are in the book. And then make sure you record, Luke, what made you choose the way you did. All right, so that is it for today. Go ahead and check that off, and we are all done. All right, you guys, that is it. Thank you so much for joining us today on a lesson from Science in the Atomic Age for our first experiment. I think it went okay. They lay it out so well in the book. Everything is very simple, very easy to follow. I'm looking forward to seeing how they kind of expand on the notes for the experiments and things like that, as well as just how the rest of the semester plays out. The experiment kits that you can buy make it so easy that I think it's just going to be a breeze for us with this curriculum. So I'm looking forward to digging into it a little bit more. If you guys are interested in learning more about this curriculum in general, like I said, I hope to be doing a flip through video really soon where I can show you just a little bit more in depth how it works and all of the different things that it covers. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and I would love for you to subscribe to my channel for more homeschooling tips, curriculum reviews, and encouragement. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.